and then there's a bunch of people that don't exist that are getting Medicaid money.
Right.
Yeah, and then there's autism diagnoses, right? So they self-diagnose as autism. They open up an autism center. They have a bunch of kids in the autism center. They get money for those kids. There's no autism. There's no kids. It's all fake.
Right.
There's also there's these fake scams where there was one that they uncovered in Minnesota where they were supposedly feeding an exorbitant amount of children, and there was no kids. No one was going there, but they were saying they were feeding 5,000 people a day.
Sure.
They didn't even have the capacity to feed 5,000 people a day. There's no food coming in there. But
the American dream, dude.
The politicians were getting so much money from these people.
Right.
Just from the Somali community that owned daycare centers. The Minnesota politicians were getting $35 million last year.
Is Tim Walz to blame for that? I don't know.
Well, he just stepped down from his re-election. That's not good. That's not good. When you were almost the vice president of the United States.
You know how many people came at me? People that I'm thought I was friends with, acquaintances, more maybe, but I now realize they were acquaintances. When I made fun of Tim Walz for going to China so many times, which let me not get this wrong. It's definitely more than 10 or something that Tim Walz just went to China to go, which is, if you're gonna have gone to China that many times and then run to be the vice president, why would you hide it, number one? Why wouldn't you lead with it as this is one of our enemies, I know the language, why wouldn't you either lean into it, make it, I'm an expert on it, and this is one of our big issues, the fact that we all pretended that he wasn't going to China. First of all, on what salary are you going to China every year?
Was he a politician when he was doing
this? What's your miles program?
No. Well, I could see if you were a businessman.
He was a teacher.
He was a teacher.
He was going with kids. He was taking kids to China.
But doesn't that make sense, though, that you're taking kids on an international trip so they can learn about the world?
Only China.
Maybe that's his area.
Overseas now tonight, Iran's army is threatening to join the crackdown on protesters as demonstrations against the regime grow. Huge crowds have taken to the streets across the Islamic Republic. Iran's Revolutionary Guard calls them terrorists. CBS's Haley Ott at our London bureau has more.
Good evening. Demonstrations against the Islamic Republic appear to be growing despite a nationwide internet blackout and a new warning that protesters could face charges that carry the death penalty. Thousands filling the streets. Human rights groups say at least 65 people have been killed and 2,300 detained in demonstrations that began in Tehran almost 2 weeks ago, sweeping across the country in response to Iran's crashing currency and struggling economy. Iran's leaders shut the internet down on Thursday, sparking fears of a crackdown.
You better not start shooting.
Despite threats from President Trump. Maziar Bahari is the editor of the independent news site Iran.